back to winning isn't easy. Let's talk about 3 more mistakes that you can make in the initial application process. Not knowing what your short and long term disability policy or plan says, picking the wrong date to be disabled, and not knowing what's in your medical records. So, mistake number 3, not knowing the terms of your disability policy or plan can be disastrous. Why? There's no uniform disability or policy or plan. And many carriers or plans have multiple versions of their policy or plan. And there are really crucial terms that you need to understand before you stop work and apply for benefits. These include, what's the definition of disability? Just because your doctor says you can't work doesn't mean you're disabled under the terms of the policy or the plan. What's the definition of your occupation? You didn't insure a job, you insured your occupation. Is it occupation is performed in the national economy, the local economy for your employer? Pursuant to the Dictionary of Occupational Titles that hasn't been updated in probably 40 years. What's the type of proof you have to submit? When do you have to submit the application, and what do you have to submit as part of the application? Whether there are any policy limitations that will limit what medical conditions are covered and which are excluded, like a mental nervous policy limitation or subjective medical condition limitation. Are there any policy limitations on how long benefits are paid? And are there any reduction in your benefits for things like employer paid leave, the use of vacation, pensions, workers' comp benefits, Social Security benefits? Filing your application without knowing any of this can be a recipe for disaster. And I will tell you, it can be really hard to fix a claim denial after the fact. What's mistake number 4? Mistake number 4 is not knowing what's in your medical records. And you don't know what the records say about your diagnosis, your symptoms, your restrictions, and even whether your doctor supports your claim. If you don't know whether your doctor supports your claim and you go out and file your short or long-term disability claim, that doctor is going to be asked to fill out an attending physician statement form. If they don't fill it out or they don't support your claim, probably a guaranteed claim denial. Worse yet, many times I look at medical records and they don't document the objective basis of the diagnosis. They don't tell the story of your symptoms. They don't comment on your ability to work, comment on the progression of your symptoms or your restrictions and limitations. So you really need to understand what's in your medical records, because that disability carrier plan is going to get those records. They're going to have their doctors review them and comment on whether or not you meet the applicable definitions of disability or occupation or even restrictions and limitations. So you have to understand what the story your medical records are telling you or telling the carrier, and whether your physician is going to support your claim. And also, you need to be talking to your doctor about the definition of disability in your occupation. So you and your doctor are on the same page. They may think simply saying you're disabled is enough, when in fact you have to provide proof that you can't do specific occupational duties that are material and substantial to the occupation. You may have to provide objective medical evidence of the diagnosis, objective evidence supporting the symptoms, and an objective basis for your doctor's opinion that you can't work. Obviously, you got to know that before you stop work, because that is very hard to fix after the fact. Mistake number 5 is picking the wrong date to claim that you were disabled. Now, as I've said, disability carriers or plans are going to look at those medical records for lots of reasons. One of the reasons they're going to look at is to see whether the date you stopped working is supported by the medical records. They're going to review all the documentation you submitted. And if you have a medical condition that's been progressive and you worked one day and didn't work the next day, the disability carrier is going to want to see what's in your medical records that establishes your symptoms progressed to the point that you couldn't work as of this date. Now, if you quit your job and apply for benefits and your medical records don't support your claim, you can expect a claims denial. And worse yet, you lost your job and potentially your group health insurance benefits and your disability coverage. Now, the other thing you need to understand is that many disability policies or plans require that you be disabled for a period of time before benefits are payable. This is called an elimination period. If you aren't disabled during the elimination period, your claim is going to be denied, regardless of how disabled you might subsequently become. Now, you have to pick the right date to be disabled, and you have to be disabled long enough. And you wouldn't know any of that without the policy or plan. And what's in your medical records. So let me give you an example of cases we've seen where the policyholder or plan beneficiary reduced hours because of problems they were having, and they dropped below the number of hours that they had to work to maintain the disability coverage. Now, normally you have to work at least 30 hours per week to maintain coverage. But if you've reduced your hours below that and then apply, the carrier is going to say, too bad, so sad. You have no coverage because you picked the wrong time to reduce your hours or the wrong time to apply for your disability benefits. Got it? Let's take a break for a moment.